Camera number 403 is the Minolta X-500, released in the early 1980s, a couple of years after the X-700. It lacks features that the X-700 has, but it also has a few features that the X-700 doesn't have. It's an aperture priority auto exposure camera, meaning that we can set the aperture and the camera will respond by setting the correct shutter speed. We can do a manual metered mode where we choose both aperture and shutter speed, and the camera will help us achieve that. It requires batteries to operate, and the two LR44 batteries are housed in the base here, so let's just show you how we do that. So here are the LR or SR44 1.5 volt batteries with the positive terminal sticking out, and that goes then into the camera. The camera won't function without the batteries, so it does require these batteries to operate. Then while we're on the base, we have a tripod mount, and we have provision to mount a auto wind. I do actually have an auto wind. I have the Minolta Auto Wind G. You can also fit the Auto Winder 1, and we just simply match up the motor wind advance around the right way, and then you just simply fit it on. Oops, sorry, not out of the screen there. Let's do that like that. There we go. And then hopefully if we can locate the pins, screw it on like that. It does obviously with a lens like that, it's top heavy. I don't intend to use the auto winder, but it's nice to have that provision there. Take the winder off, we just simply unscrew the tripod there, link. There we go. Okay, so returning back to the camera, it features the Minolta bayonet mount, and to release a lens we just press the button in and release that. I'm intending to use this MD 35-70 lens. I do like it. It has a nice macro function, but the camera will take both MD and MC lenses. It will also take non-metered lenses that where you need to use the stop-down lever. The stop-down lever is here, and essentially what that does, well, let's just simulate that. Let's put the lens back on, shall we? If you do have a lens other than an MC or an MD lens, we have to basically stop down the aperture in order to obtain correct exposure. And I'm hoping that if I can show you here, when you put down the stop down meter, the idea is that you then change the aperture. If I can do that, there we go. Can you see the aperture blades changing? And then that will allow us to choose the correct aperture and the right one for the correct metering, and then we release the shutter. But with MD lenses you don't have to do that, it's automatic, the diaphragm there. On the other side we have our lens release, and then we have a cable release. We also have on the other side a flash synchronization port there, and we have a lever here that has multiple purposes. By pressing it down we have auto exposure lock, so if we want to lock in a particular exposure, maybe recompose an image, but we want to meter, then we can use that. So to activate the self timer, we lift it up, and then we can press our shutter button and we get the countdown. There we go. Don't forget to push it back down, otherwise you'll have that on all the time. So let's just put the lens back on by lining up the two red dots. Turning our attention to the top plate, we have our film advance and our frame counter. We also have a little window here that shows whether the film has been placed correctly in the camera. Excuse me. And then we have our shutter dial, which aperture priority mode is there. To release it, we have to press a little lock button, and then we can choose our own shutter speed, 1/1000th being the highest, and the lowest being B, or 1 second. On the other side, we have on-off button. Currently it's set to the mode where you have audio beeps, but otherwise we can turn that off and still operate the camera without the beeps. Around the collar of the film rewind, we have our film speeds, and again there's another lock button here. Press the lock button and then we can rotate the dial and choose our film speed, and then obviously that then allows our meter to operate correctly. Looking through the viewfinder, along the right hand side here we have our shutter speeds, and when we look through, if we're in aperture priority mode, the camera will indicate the correct shutter speed dependent on the aperture that we're choosing. If we put the camera on manual mode, the camera will indicate the correct shutter speed by a little LED flashing, and then the idea is that we either choose aperture or move our shutter speed so that then the red dot aligns. That's the idea behind that. Okay, to put a film in the camera, we just simply lift the camera rewind knob and then we can put our film in as normal. No DX coding, that's why we set our film speed. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the controls of the camera. So all that's left for me to do now is to go out and take some photographs.